this is my waxing technique that I use for all my snowboards. My son calls it the dad wax, but I wanted to kind of go through it and do like a step-by-step. I'll probably have to post a few videos because it is kind of a long process, or maybe I can do it on fast forward. I don't really know how that works. I am not that good at this, but the dad wax starts by cleaning up the leftover wax on the board. So I take my brass brush and I as you can see, this board probably, maybe you can see it, maybe you can't, but it has some scratches in it. This board is for my son who is not old enough to know the difference between a board that is, he's going to use this for like a season. So he's a giant human, so the 154 wide is needed because every 10-year-old boy needs a wide board, right? So next thing I like to do is I like to heat the base up. So this also blows off all of the little scrapes and scratches that I just did with the brass brush. This allows the board to really open up its pores. One of the things about it is you're trying to open up the pores and get wax deep inside your board. You're not just trying to have like some surface wax. I'm just taking off little impurities I see. But I really like to heat the board up good with a heat gun. This is just some non-special heat gun. I got this board for $60 for my son. Like it's not a high-end board by any means. It's an old form. It's a good board. My son will enjoy it. And that's what this is all about. It's just about having fun. But you really do need to heat the base up. A lot of people like to go in cold, but once you brass brush it and then you heat the base up, it really opens up. And you can see some of the old wax just get like discolored and like kind of like melted to the board. And that's just somebody else's wax that was on here before I got it. I'm not really too worried about it. Again, this is not a brand new like high performance board. It's just a board for my son. I just want to heat it up, a little bit. Like, nothing crazy, just like warm to the touch. The whole board should be warm to the touch. I live in a hot climate, unfortunately, so everywhere I go I have to travel. So I like to give my boards a really good wax so that I don't have to pay somebody on a mountain to do it or do some crappy job with, a crappy old Burton iron or something. I really like TOKO products. I think they make a great product for waxing and everything like that. So that's who I use. Nothing crazy. Like the board is now just warm to the touch. Once it is warm to the touch, I then plug in my TOKO iron. And I am sure you guys have seen waxing videos before where they drip the wax on. I used to drip. There's no issue with dripping if that's your choice. But what I have found is that dripping wastes a lot of wax. So when you drip, you're like blip, 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 blip. Everybody does it. There's nothing wrong with it, right? it's just a little bit of a waste of wax. And so what this technique was taught to me was called glazing. Yes, I know it has other meanings. I'm not promoting those other meanings, but it's called glazing your board. And so instead of me taking this little piece of wax, which is very small, and dripping it and then connecting it to another bar, what I like to do is, we are waiting for the iron to heat up. So I like to put the iron on the board. I like to slide the wax up, and I go back and forth with the wax all the way down, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this coat of wax does really well, and you don't have any bubbles, and you don't have like a big pile of wax like right here or randomly right here. You know, you're just going back and forth with the wax. Obviously, irons aren't the full width of boards. They're basically designed for skis, but, you know, when you do half a board all the way down, I like to get my wax heated to 130. You know, you're not going to hurt your board by putting an iron on it, okay? Even, like, there's already base, there's already structure to it. So I just go back and forth with this little bit of wax, right? Nothing special. I'm not moving too fast. I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. And you're probably thinking, oh, that's not enough wax. Well, it is. Like, you'd be surprised how little wax you need, because, again, you're not trying to keep the wax on there. You're just trying to wax the board so that the structure in the base gets the wax. And so that's what I'm trying to show, is that with this little tiny piece of wax, you know, I'm able to do this whole board. Now, I got another one out because my fingers will get really close on the wax. And yeah, I don't want to burn myself. But yeah, just going back and forth across the tip of the front of the iron. And yeah, there'll be a little drips, and, you know, just go in it like this. You know, get those. But that half, look how much is left. So then we're going to do the other half. And again, we're just going back and forth with this wax. Back and forth, all the way across the board. Now, this is not what I would call like a final pass by any means. Like, I am definitely going to do more. But, you know, basically this little tiny piece is going to do almost all of this board. And if you've ever waxed a board before, you know how much wax these go. Now, look, there's some cracks in this. There's some scrapes on the bottom of this board. I could have P-texed it. But, like, you know, this isn't a pro's board. You know, my son's not going to notice if there's a little crosshatch going through that somebody scraped on a shark when they were going through. You know, this is a used board, and, you know, when you get a used board, you got to put your own wax on it. Now, look, I have run out, so it's not a perfect science. I just had that little piece left from a board I did before. But, as you can see, I have now completely put wax all over my board. Now I'm going to do a few laps to really spread the wax out. Just, you know, when you glaze it like that, it's pretty good at getting the wax everywhere, but, you know, you still got to, like, fill in the gaps. So right now I'm just, you know, really spreading the wax everywhere on this turn. I'm not going any direction or anything like that. I'm just spreading the wax. You'll see going forward that I will do everything else directionally. I know it shouldn't matter, but in my brain it does. And that's just how I do it. You're welcome to do it anyway. I ride a snowboard down a hill. I'm not a switch guy or anything like that. You know, it's just not something I've ever really felt the need to learn. If I need to ride switch, I can ride switch for a little bit, but most of my boards are directional. You know, my kids get twins because I don't want them to fall into the same bad habits as their dad. So with that little piece of wax and just a tiny bit more, we've got wax all over this board, okay? At this point, I am pressing down. I'm putting some weight on it. Not a lot, you know, just a little heavy-handed, right? So I'm trying to press the wax into the base structure. And that's why I put a little heavy hand on it. And now you'll see I'm going to go directional with this, because I always go front to back. You don't have to. It doesn't really matter. But as you can see, there's not a ton of wax dripping off onto the carpet. It's just enough wax, and it's really nice not to have to waste wax. And you'll see when I scrape, there's a lot less wax than other boards. I will have to pause the video and kind of start over. But yeah, this is just, my technique. I do 3 pressure passes after I lay the wax down. Really just trying to get it into the structure under a hot base. Look, some people clean boards and, put base cleaner on them. I used to, but I found it really doesn't do much unless you have like a really disgusting base. Then yeah, put some base cleaner on it. If you see some like big impurities that don't come out when you brush it, go for it. But you don't have to do a bunch of crazy stuff. It's a snowboard. It's supposed to be ridden. If it gets some dings, it gets some scratches, that's just badges of honors, You shouldn't really worry about that stuff. Like, just enjoy snowboarding. Like, I have lots of snowboards. You can see a few on the wall. All those boards have been ridden. Somebody really enjoyed those boards before they went in my collection. And I love knowing that, because snowboarding is about having fun. A lot of collectors are always looking for those never on snow, 1984, Burton, blah, 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 back hills or performer or anything like that. And that's great. Like, I love those guys. Like, I'm friends with tons of those guys. But I like boards that are ridden hard, scratches, dings. You can still see the graphics on all those. Like, are they perfect? No. This will be my last pass. I feel like the wax is really in there good. And that is going to be stage 1 of the dad wax. So, not sponsored by anybody. I pay for all this stuff out of my own pocket. My kids have been snowboarding since they were 3 and 4 years old, and I love that for them. I learned when I was 18 and a giant human as I am today. So, I wanted my kids to learn before they were giant humans, and they did. All right, step 1, over. The board is waxed. Now we will let that dry and cool before stage 2. All right, board is dry. Board is nice and cool to the touch, ready to be scraped. I highly recommend a scraper sharpener. They make everything better. Like, once your scraper's dull, you're not getting anything done. All you do, run it across a couple times, sharp as a knife. I've actually already did these, so I didn't need to do it, but I just wanted to show you a scraper sharpener. Highly recommend sharp scrapers. All right, again, I do everything directionally. I'm going to pull the wax all the way down in one fell swoop. Yes, if you can see the floor over there, there's already plenty of wax. I love waxing snowboards. It is my zen time. When I retire, I'm going to live in Tahoe and work in a snowboard shop, and I'm going to wax snowboards all the time. I also want to drive a cat, snowcat at night, or during the day for cool trips. But, again, you are pulling excess wax off the board. Now, if you look, I'm not pulling a ton of wax because of how much wax I use. So a lot of times, you'll see a lot more wax on the board and a lot more wax pulled off. But sharp scraper, glazing technique, no problem. I do like to turn the scraper a lot. I like triangle scrapers. I have some square ones. I have some rectangles. The triangle is the winner for me every time. Gives you a nice grip. A lot of people say don't do this. They always want you to do this technique. Do what you like. I like doing this. Again, trying to get excess wax off the board. That's the goal. So. All right. Now, Most of them have a little notch. I'm sure you've seen this 100 times. Do it, don't do it, up to you. Run along, get the wax off the edge of your board. Again, my brain just works in a directional fashion, so I am going to go directionally with this. Everything front to back. Do your own technique. I'm not saying mine is right. I'm not saying mine is wrong. See, I mean, there's really not enough wax to speak of anymore. But I want to make sure I get as much off as I can. I like black-based snowboards. They are so easy to see. All right. Now that we have got the scraping done, we are back to our brass brush. So this is a brass fine 10 millimeter. And again, I do no weight passes. I'm not putting any weight. The weight of the drill and the handle are enough. I like to do one pass with the brass at the end. A lot of people like to do others. I then go from the brass. Now we take our horsehair brush. Just got this. I'm pretty excited about it. I had been using a 2-brush system, but got the horsehair. And I'm excited about it. So I'm going to do 2 passes with the horsehair just to really give you a nice, fine brushing. I know these videos aren't that detailed, but you can really see the lines coming in. And I'll pick up the camera and do kind of a zoom. This is my first time using this horsehair brush. So we have lost a few horsehairs on here. Just give it a quick wipe. So I'm going to do 2 passes with the horsehair. Again, no pressure. I am not putting any pressure on the board or the drill. I'm just running it along the top. You could probably get this in 3 passes, but it's a wide board, so I'm doing 4 to make sure I get everything. Now look, wax up here doesn't really matter because this isn't really doing anything for you. All your wax down here is what matters, so that's where I'm really focusing. I start up there just naturally. All right, now I've done 2 passes with the horsehair. Next, I get out my nylon 4 millimeter. It literally says, don't press. So no weight on this bad boy. Literally just one to the next. That's all I'm doing. So no weight, nothing. I'm just literally holding it, and I'm going to do 2 passes with this. That was 1. 4 wide. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just, I don't know. Some people like 3, 4 passes with horsehair. Some people like 2 passes with brass. I like 1, 2, 2. That's my formula. Find out what works for you. Try different pass methods. Try different methods. This is honestly just how I like to wax a board. Then I like to take just a little towel or whatever. Like this, there's nothing. It's just a paper towel. Just kind of wipe it off. You know, wipe all the excess off. Again, directionally, because that's who I am. Then you have a nice smooth board. So if you check that out, you know, it is good to go. I mean, you can see the sheen that horsehair and that nylon brush do. I mean, again, this is a old used board. I mean, this is 10-year-old board. But again, it's wide. It's for my son. As you can see, there's a pretty deep gash. Should I P-Tex that? Absolutely. For me. For my son, he's going to ride this board for one season, then he's done. I will try and do more of these if anybody likes them. If not, I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Thanks for watching.